To file a motion to have charges all dismissed due to the Speedy Trial Act. And I don't think it's very fair that with having to go against people that have 8 years of schooling versus my hour and a half. Like, there's no way that will have 30 days to be able to study and defend myself from the time of this trial. You gave me bogus laws to look up and information, and you were biased.
I would suggest you apply for a lawyer instead of just complaining about it.
Today we've got one of the most clueless sovereign citizens I've ever seen. Seriously, how do these people still exist in 2025? This guy can't even read, yet he thinks he can walk into court and defend himself like some legal genius. His main argument? He claims the trial isn't fair because he only had an hour to study law, while the prosecutor had 7 years in law school. That's like entering a marathon with no training and complaining that Olympic runners had more prep time. This is going to be painful to watch, but also hilarious. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let's dive in and see this guy get absolutely wrecked by the law.
Well, the state of Michigan versus Benjamin Macario Martinez, 237407ST, 226707ST, and 162435FY. Concerning the matters then we were set over from last time, Mr. Downing, in regard to the underlying matters that are left open, has there been any progress?
Your Honor, an offer, I believe, was extended to Mr. Martinez by letter dated June 8th. While he's been incarcerated in the jail. We have not heard what his response is, so I will leave it to Mr. Martinez whether he wishes to enter a plea pursuant to that on the 2 files he has to that offer, or seek an adjournment.
All right, we're also here for sentencing on a number of contempt. So in regard to the 2 open charges, Mr. Martinez, and you're proceeding here today in general, are you choosing to proceed without a lawyer here today?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
So concerning the 2 files that remain open, 6707 and 7407, Ms. Cass apparently sent you another offer after we had court last time. Mr. Martinez, I have no idea what that offer is. The court is not part of any plea bargaining. You have both of these cases here. What is your position in respect to whatever they sent you?
I would like to file a motion to have charges all dismissed due to the Speedy Trial Act. And also, I didn't get, last time we were in court, I expressed to the court that I wasn't able to have reasonable time or inadequate law books. They're old. I only got an hour and a half. I only know some rules for an hour and a half of studying. So out of my freedom of speech and the rules of professional conduct, I'd like to read my motions.
Wow, this guy can barely read, and now he wants to stand in court and read his own motions like he's some kind of legal expert. Honestly, what do you think his reading level is? I'd probably say maybe 6th grade, and that's being nice. But the real crazy part, his complaining about not having enough time to study the law. Does he really think the judge will just pause his case for years so he can go get a law degree? The entitlement is unbelievable. Back in the day, if you didn't know how to do something, you found someone who did, not threw a fit and expected everyone to cater to you. The court has already given him options. Hire a lawyer, take a public defender, or represent yourself if you actually know what you're doing. Clearly, he doesn't. What's next? Is he going to ask for a delay to become a Supreme Court justice? What do you think of this guy so far? Let's keep watching.
All right, go right ahead.
For every waste of time and the more money of the people and their state, I would like to say this under the right of free speech, and I would like to invoke on my rights. civil and state laws to state and file motions and to be treated fairly by judge and prosecution, to uphold all the laws that are to be held in the courts, and so as me representing myself can have a fair chance without having rights infringed upon by any members of the court, and I'm doing so. I'd like to file a motion to have all charges dismissed upon my rights being infringed and violated due to these reasons, rights to speedy trial, and to have adequate time to with representing myself, and in doing so, these are my civil rights and need to be enforced and protected. Not enough time to study, even after motion, or the judge throughout plea, not able to study in a reasonable time, having defended myself when it was brought to the court's attention and prosecution. If need to, it's all on court record, transcripts and rights of trial by jury, and adequate time to have my own witnesses, which are under the time frame, and the prosecution knowingly didn't explain what or help me, which is repugnant and biased by the court, and for also the court saying and giving false advice, and also for my bond being excessive, and also bias in setting bond by stating it's more than fair when I was unable to bond out, and when it was amended. I have reasons why 30 days from the timeline of being able to represent myself is being infringed on, and I'd like to have my trial by jurors, and these are the few offhand as to why. Most of the Speedy Trial Act and also False Pretense Act 774.49, they have to abide by all Supreme Court rules and also rules of professional conduct. Opinion 4, which is federal, asking for help retaining for motion. Prosecutors Rule 3.8, didn't take action or all actions making sure my rights were protected. And Rules 4.3, if they know the law and what I'm saying, these are US Supreme Court, Michigan rules. And
is anyone else just waiting for the judge to hit him with the classic good speech, little guy, motion denied? Because that's exactly where this is going. This guy really didn't need to read out his motion like he was giving the Gettysburg Address. I swear, I feel like the judge only let him read it for the entertainment value. Like, sure, go ahead, let's all have a laugh. Honestly, that's probably the only reason she didn't shut him down right away. Judges can deny ridiculous motions on the spot, especially when they're wasting the court's time, and this is a perfect example of that. Rule 11 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure is there to stop nonsense like this. Courts can punish people for filing pointless motions, and this one is definitely pointless. But hey, maybe he thinks if he talks long enough, the judge will magically agree with his sovereign wisdom and throw out the whole case. Spoiler alert, that's not going to happen.
Impartial trial, miscarriage, also People versus Lehman, stating that I shouldn't be in jail or in prison for fines when able to prove I was unable to meet the court's obligations. And I was also in jail during the time of the one failure to appear. And I don't think it's very fair that with having to go against people that have 8 years of schooling versus my hour and a half, when I've asked every day to go to the law library and kited, and there's no way that my act to speedy trial, if you need that read, can ever be met. And I got a bunch of federal laws too that if we have to go through all them, why? Or I can write them up in a motion to have more reasons for dismissal.
All right, thank you, Mr. Martinez. Mr. Downing, do you wish an opportunity to respond, or do you want an opportunity to do a written response, or where are you at with that?
That's a very rambling, if you want to call it, motion. I don't know how any kind of speedy trial is impacted here. inasmuch as one of these was just set for trial and the first trial date was today. He also failed to appear on the other one. He's set for sentencing on that. If he's complaining about legal research, he has a right to a court-appointed attorney to assist him in advising him of all that. I do note the record 2 handwritten responses from Mr. Martinez in response to Ms. Cass's offer letter asking to discuss the offer with her. It says nothing in there about speedy trial or anything of that nature. To the extent that he's setting himself up or trying to set himself up for these objections, I don't think there's any basis for it whatsoever. But if the court would like a written response, we would need a transcript of what he has rambled on about here in order to decide what it is exactly he's arguing.
All right, in regard to the matter, we've spent a good hour and a half or more on the record. I think it was last week, maybe the week before. We went through a whole plea colloquy. We got down to the end, the deal had been made. He decided at the last minute then he wanted to have a trial. So we set this matter over to today's date. He didn't want a lawyer then, he doesn't want a lawyer now, yet you want to complain that you don't have access. You're going up against people with 8 years of education. Which is it, Mr. Martinez? You want to represent yourself or you want a lawyer?
I want to represent myself, but I also was given false information by some court officers that I wasn't allowed to have a standby counsel or have advice by a counsel. And I know there's also a federal law that says that I'm able to have third-party advice. So I like I said, I only got out for 2 days, really, the last 2 days. I don't know how I'm supposed to be able to study upon the law, which I stated last time that the law books are and pages are missing out of them. And I showed guards that last night. Like there's no way that will have 30 days to be able to study and defend myself from the time of this trial.
Is this guy pretending to be dumb, or is he really this clueless? I'm leaning toward pretending, because there's just no way someone could be this ridiculous while facing actual jail time. This isn't some high school pop quiz. You can't just wing it and hope for the best. His entire defense falls apart with one simple fact: he could have had a court-appointed lawyer for free. But nope, instead of taking the free legal help, he wastes everyone's time filing nonsense motions, then complains that he only had an hour to study. Did he think this was an open book test or something? He reminds me of that one kid in school who clearly didn't research his presentation, so he just starts making stuff up and hoping no one notices. Spoiler alert, we all notice. Let me know if you think he's faking it or if he's really this lost. Let's dive back in.